Future Imperfect. After an accident, Riker loses his memory and struggles to put a 16-year puzzle back together.
We begin with a captain's log saying things are quiet near the neutral zone, but we immediately see that Picard was lying when we cut to Riker playing his trombone.
Personally, I've never stood around with people watching somebody play the trombone and enjoying it so damn much.
They're celebrating Riker's birthday when the Enterprise is scanned from a supposedly uninhabited planet, and Picard mentions rumors of a secret Romulan base.
There's a guy at one of the panels who says they're experiencing some disruptions, and obviously he got rejected for his Vulcan audition, but thought it was really good, so he decided to go with that anyway.
I am detecting some unusual fluctuations in subspace frequencies.
So Riker takes an away team down to investigate.
And we get another cool matte painting. At least the show is consistent on that aspect. When they get down there, communication with the Enterprise is spotty and there are dangerous gases. So Picard tells them to beam back immediately. And I thought, good, maybe they learned something from past episodes.
They're having trouble beaming him up, and Riker passes out. When he wakes up in sickbay, something is off.
What else do you remember, Captain?
Captain.
She tells Riker that he went down to the planet 16 years ago and was infected with a virus that lay dormant until now. And she looks pretty dang good for 16 years later.
I knew you were going to say that. Beverly says his memory loss could be permanent, but he should go around and try and trigger his memory.
Riker tries talking to the computer, but it is not responding to commands properly. Beverly says that Geordi is working on it.
LeVar Burton has taken full advantage of an alternate reality to not have to wear his visor. I'm sure it was very uncomfortable.
And we also see that there is a Ferengi on the bridge.
A Romulan ship decloaks right in front of them, but Data says they're expecting it, and it turns out that Picard and Troy are on board.
They beam over to the Enterprise and tell Riker that he's the one who gained favor with the Romulans when he rescued a dying Romulan ship.
And they've been working on a peace treaty ever since. At this point, it seemed like a pretty straightforward Romulan plot, so I was suspicious.
They want Riker to complete the treaty negotiations, but he doesn't feel suited for it, because he hasn't been around for 16 years, basically.
Troy offers to take Riker to his quarters, to which he says,
Good idea. I've had enough surprises for one day.
Which is the most obvious setup line for pretty much anything that happens next.
Hi, Dad.
And at that point I burst out laughing. Riker's son is talking all happily with him, but shouldn't he have been worried his dad was in a coma? And it turns out his name is Jean-Luc.
How sweet. Troy tells him his wife, Min, died 2 years ago.
Riker talks to his son and gives him some trombone playing advice, but he doesn't tell him to stop puffing out his freaking cheeks.
Yeah, his embouchure was total shit. Riker also has a Horgon statue from Risa just sitting right on his table, which was a little weird.
It is Riker. I thought it seemed completely normal.
Riker tries to pull up his service record, but the computer is still having problems, and Jean-Luc tells him that everything will be fine, and I really like Riker's reaction.
Everything's going to be fine.
Romulan Ambassador Tomalak beams aboard, and Riker doesn't trust him.
And we've seen Tomalak before, being a deceitful, conniving jerk in The Enemy and The Defector. The group spends a lot of time talking about how great Riker has been with negotiations, but they do it in a very vague way without any actual details.
All of the difficult issues have been resolved.
After much debate, your Captain Riker is the kind of negotiator even the Ferengi should avoid.
Troy and Picard tell Riker there's no cause for concern, but Riker thinks that the Romulans are trying to find the location of a strategic outpost.
Beverly calls Riker to sickbay because his son broke his wrist playing Parrises squares. At first, he's mad that his son was playing a dangerous game, but Beverly points out how much he has lost, and Riker decides to bond with him some more.
Riker decides to explore more about his late wife, and when the computer finally brings it up, he sees something that throws him off. It turns out his wife is Minuet from 100100101, whatever that episode was. So at this point, we and Riker know it's a fake. And for those who don't remember, Minuet was just a holodeck character.
She wasn't just a holodeck character. She was more than that. He goes to the bridge and begins questioning everyone aggressively, and it was great.
Where did you get that scar?
In combat.
What battle? When?
I'm running a level 1 diagnostic.
For 30 hours? That would never take you more than 4. You're incapable of that level of incompetence, Mr. LaForge. Quickly, what did you say?
I said I cannot operate.
No. That's not what you said. You said I can't. You used a contraction, didn't you?
Beg your pardon.
I said shut up. As in close your mouth and stop talking.
Tomalak then reveals it was a Romulan ploy to discover the location of the Strategic Federation outpost.
Then they show him the kid that Jean-Luc was based on. Turns out his name is Ethan, and he was captured from a base constructed near the neutral zone.
There's also things that don't line up for Riker and are never explained, which led me to believe it was another ploy of some sort, which also seemed like a Romulan thing.
He and Ethan manage to escape, and Ethan impressively punches one of the Romulans as they bust out, and he leads Riker to a hiding place.
I also like how when the Romulans are looking through the grate, they're standing right there instead of moving out of the way. They're using the scanner, but there's also holes they could just look through.
They needed a flashlight, but they don't have those in the future.
While they're talking, Ethan mentions Tomalak as being an ambassador, which was only the case in Riker's simulation, so he knows that he's in some other sort of charade.
And it turns out the kid was behind things the whole time.
Turns out Riker never left the cave at all.
And Ethan was using technology in the cave that reads his mind and creates any simulations he desires.
When Riker asks why he did any of it,
Why?
My world was invaded. My people killed. My mother brought me here so our enemies would never find me.
how did he eat? So what did you think about Ethan's actual appearance?
It was the second time in the episode where I burst out laughing. It was awesome.
Yeah, it felt like it went into KB Toys or something. Just saw it sitting on a shelf in the clearance section.
And Riker tells him to come to the Enterprise with him so he doesn't have to be alone.
Future Imperfect. Overall?
This episode was hard for me to rate. I thought it was a well put together episode, but it was obvious from the beginning that what was happening wasn't real. I liked how much depth they put into the initial fake reality, which did make it more enjoyable to watch, and I liked how Riker figured things out, and I liked the Romulan reveal, but it was immediately obvious that things weren't really happening again, and it started to feel tedious waiting for the next reveal. If it had just turned out to be a Romulan ploy, I would have liked it more, but having it turn out to be some random alien in the last couple minutes of the episode made it feel like nothing that had happened mattered and the entire episode was a waste of time. I also hated that, again, it turned out to be a super powerful being, even if he was using technology this time and not actually warping reality. It was still the same idea. I gave it a B- because it wasn't bad, it just felt completely inconsequential.
I gave it a B. This episode was like a reverse situation of The Bonding. I really enjoyed how it was a double fake out and ended up not having anything to do with the Romulans at all, but used them since they're deceptive as hell, and it totally would have been something they would have done. The clues were a little too blatant for me, and the way that the discrepancies were just brushed off over and over again was kind of dumb. The whole thing could have been much more subtle. I also thought they handled everyone's aging way better than I would have expected, especially from what we've seen so far in this show. I didn't think it was inconsequential. I thought the simplicity of it made sense since it really was a child manipulating everything, and that's how a child would think. It didn't bother me.
Whatever.
The end.